side is the microphone. From the green light to the speed trap, Ray Carino and Joe D calls them as they seize them, and you better believe them. Here, relevant news, biased opinion, and outright nonsense regarding every aspect of automotive culture. Gasp! With mechanical trickery never before broadcast over FCC-regulated airwaves. Thrilled to the explosive tension as Ray and Joe cuss each other down track, barrel roll across the finish line, laughing at certain disaster as they shake hands with the devil. All that and so much more at high noon this Sunday on the Motormouth Radio Hour. Call in and speak live with the Wizards of Speed and the Live Feed, Ray Carino and Joe D. Bring the whole family. Kids under 12 get in free. Every Sunday at noon on WHPC. Take the Hempstead Turnpike to the Meadowbrook Parkway and look for the no parking on the expressway and no express service on the Parkway sign. Go right on Highway 24 to Garden City. $2 all-day parking includes pit pass.
All right, we are back. Motormouth Radio, Ray Guarino, Joe D, Long Island's only automotive talk show. I have to remember this.
I like the way you played the counter there. That was really good. That was a really good little drum break you gave us there.
Little drumming to one of my favorites. That's Bachman Turner Overdrive and
BTO.
And the song is. And like them, Joe and I are. That's it. Good old BTO doing some four-wheel drive here on Motormouth Radio. We are back to do it again, and Joe, we're going to provide some great programming. People can call us at
516-572-7440.
And since we're in our yearly fundraiser, you can also call us at 516-572-7438. And you can get in on this part of the show. You can actually be a benefactor. You can donate money to help us keep this thing alive. And
that's party.
Keep us in a job, so to speak, because that's...
let's face it. This place doesn't run on strictly air, and it sure as hell doesn't go on our good looks, because that's why we're radio guys.
You got that right.
So, so keep listening. Hopefully, you didn't just run away from the radio in the first hour.
And you should know that all your donations stay right here at WHPC. They don't go towards any other areas of the college, and they are tax deductible.
Yeah. Because, anything less that you can give the tax man, the better.
Absolutely. So I'll get some of it back at least. I know I changed my deductions already on my for my W-2, so I'm playing both sides of that whole game. But
that's why I have an account, because I suck at math.
Well, me too, and that's who told me to do it. So I'm basically going to play with that. So you can now be a part of this. And one of the things we do is we stole Rob Leonard's idea from last year, and donations can be put towards an hour with the Motormouths. You can donate money to this station, and along with helping people communicate and help students get an edge, get a leg up on learning how to do college radio and maybe even professional radio afterwards. That money can go to that, but then you can win yourself a spot in the studio with us for an hour. We'll program it. It doesn't have to. It's not going to be like next week. I mean, it could be, but it doesn't have to be. No, it won't be next week because we won't be here next week.
That's right. They gave us the weekend off there. Yeah,
we will. We'll schedule that in. You come down to the station. We'll show you around. You get to see the pictures on the wall, and you can sit here. We'll dedicate the show to you and your car.
And you can make fun of us.
You can.
Yeah, definitely.
Why should it be different than anybody else, right?
Right, exactly. I don't know about that, the thing that they were talking about with the piñata. No, I don't want to be, I don't think that would be good.
Yeah.
But you can still verbally abuse us, you know what I mean? We promise to take it easy on you, by all means.
Absolutely. We can, we play nice with others.
Yes, and... you can see how a radio station works.
So, to some degree. So anyway, speaking about how radio stations work, we could talk about how shops work. We got a few more things to cover where we, with our technological series.
Let's do the tech things.
I wanted to talk a little bit about aftermarket versus OEM, and we kind of teased this a while ago. I've always been a proponent when that topic would come up. I was the aftermarket guy, and I know for a long time you're the OEM guy because you're working at Chevy.
Yeah, that's where Well, that's actually no. I started off as an aftermarket guy. I started off as a counter guy in a regular auto parts store / speed shop at one point, and but it all depends on the part.
Yeah,
and the manufacturer, the part itself. What type of part it is. The manufacturer of the part. And also the availability. There's a lot of stuff that goes on with that. Making my family, my living comes from working. My main living comes from an aftermarket company that makes all kinds of stuff between engine management, fuel injectors, ignition parts, whatever. And that same company also has a lot of temperature control stuff, cooling systems, AC stuff. I mean, the aftermarket has definitely buttered my bread for like 20 years.
And I'll tell you the thing, I with my own car, I'm a resto mod guy. I like to. My mantra was always this, Joe. I have friends to this day who love the OEM model and say that's the way the General or Mother Mopar or Father Ford, whoever, that's the way they built it. That's the way it should be. And I get that. I do, and I don't poo-poo on that, but I always thought, well, the aftermarket being.
Did you just say poo-poo?
I did, yeah. Sorry.
With that accent, poo-poo.
I don't know how I said.
What was that? Renault parts?
Probably.
Okay.
I know from.
Just couldn't let that pass.
Okay. Yes, we do hold ourselves accountable here on this show.
Oh, yes.
From the dealings I've had in different companies, I've always been in the engineering side of companies and in metallurgy and in R&D. And I saw that, what a company could do, much like what happens in a global manufacturing market, is they can look at the big guy, what they did, and they can take that. Now, in our model, the big guy's the OEM, and then you can take that idea and just expand upon it and make the product like the stuff the OEM couldn't do, like maybe deburr a part or polish it or whatever, because it wouldn't make sense for mass manufacturer.
Right.
The OEM could do that. Think about an Edelbrock intake manifold.
Exactly. I mean, that type of manufacturer where you're talking high performance parts, they could do stuff that where the OE manufacturer is just like, will it last the length of the warranty?
Right.
You know what I mean? And after that, we really don't care what happens, which is that's kind of an oversimplification, but that's basically it. Or, you know what? They don't need that extra 15 horsepower. Right. We'll do just fine. As a matter of fact, that extra 15 horsepower might just blow something out of the rear end of the tranny, so you ain't getting that. Meanwhile, if you're making your own decisions with the aftermarket stuff,
right?
And there are situations where especially in the performance end of things, they could devote a little bit extra attention to detail and care
and
beef stuff up.
Even to that extent, like GM used Winter's manufacturing to cast their aluminum intakes on a lot of their high performance stuff. But look at a lot of cars, and all makes and models of cars. And again, we're talking the glory days, the muscle car era, where a lot of the high performance cars came with Holley carburetors on them.
Oh yeah!
Wow, you got a Corvette, it's got a Holley on it. That's not a GM part. You know what? Yeah. No, because they realized that was where to get that performance level.
Z28 Camaros, certain big block Chevelles,
Sure, and Fords and Chryslers, all of them.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we had a discussion last night about an old T-Bird that's at there, and one of the guys was saying how it had a Holley on it. And it's like, that can't be right. And I says, well, no, wait a second now. Ford and Holley have been drinking at the same bar for many, many years. And this particular car goes back to the 50s, so it is entirely possible. Yeah.
Well, the reason I brought this up is because the car I was working on at the shop, the possessed Camaro, as I now call it, has a small block Chevy in it that's warmed over, and it has some aftermarket drive system where it's got a billet bracket that mounts the alternator and the power steering, and it's not. And I had to remount the power steering pump yesterday and scratched my head because it's been 3 weeks since I took it off and said, how the hell does this thing go back on? You got to almost think like, and I said to myself, if this was a standard GM, if it was a Chevelle in the other bay, I'd know exactly how to put it on.
Yeah, and there'd be pictures in 3 different shop manuals and stuff like that.
But the picture of my head would be the one I could rely on because I've done it, all of us.
Let's face it. Yeah,
I'm not the anomaly here.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, and that's what happens too. When you're dealing with a project like that, is that life gets in the way. You go do other stuff, and you come back to it like 3 weeks later?
I guess maybe 2 weeks. You know what it was? We had to send the pump out to be rebuilt. So now that car sat there dormant. That's when I worked on the electrical system, which we talked about on last week's show. And if you want to hear that, you can. We're broadcast. Our shows are actually on iHeartRadio. They're on Spreaker. You can also go to motormouthradio.com and you can listen to past shows there, as long as as well as following us on Twitter at Motormouth Radio, and then you can keep up with what we do, because we try to keep a little active during the week when we're not vegging out.
Yeah.
But, we covered that last week, so I won't go into it again now. So that was this little side job, and now the pump came back in, so it was back to that. And I said, damn, why didn't I take a couple of pictures of this? I should have, and I didn't. So it took me a few extra minutes to figure it out. I had to walk across the street to 7-Eleven and get a coffee and some sweet stuff to fuel me. And I got it back on.
Reload.
But then the problem was, this system sits, I'll show you pictures, it sits real nice and tight in the engine, which doesn't give you a lot of adjustability like on a stock setup.
Right.
So again, what you get on one end, you lose on another.
Yeah, there's a lot of design considerations that go into a car that we don't even think of, and sometimes they actually think of the mechanics.
Well, but sometimes I look at a lot of pictures of original cars, and I get a lot of books about this stuff, and you look at alternator and AC placement, you say, oh my God, it looks like a wart on a log sitting there. It's like, why'd they stick it way out there? And it was, for whatever reason, they had to fit a model line. They weren't designing for one specific car.
Right. Cooling, there's all kinds of stuff that you don't know about.
Whereas the aftermarket can tailor it for one specific car, one specific application, and now, pony up the bucks and you got the, you get the billet.
Exactly, yeah, because, the OEM has to think of tens of thousands of cars.
Right.
Whereas the aftermarket, they might be happy building like 2,000 of a certain setup. You know what I mean? Whereas, the car manufacturer might have to go with like 20,000, 30, 50,000.
Yeah, or more. Yeah. Well, in any model run, sure.
Which is like how many times that light's flashed.
Yeah. Well, yeah, let's count this light flash and say, hi, you're on with the Motor Mouths.
Yo, what's up?
Yes.
Dartboard Doug here.
Dartboard,
what's up?
What's happening, Doug?
Hey, brother.
How are you, Ray? How's everything, man?
Very good, very good. It's the first I heard that name today. That's it's a new one. And being a dart player, I said, oh, really?
Yeah, actually, your boy Balcom, who was just on, he's the one that made up the name.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, but that's true.
How you guys making out, all right?
Well, what's going on down at the UD? Of course, Doug, you are the king, as I call it, like King Rat. You're the king denizen of the UD. What's happening down there? What's going on these days?
Disc brake conversion on a 56 Ford sedan delivery.
Okay, yeah. We had talked about that on the show, right?
As a matter of fact, we'll be talking about that in a little bit. Yeah, that's one thing. That came out. That's coming out okay with a few variations from what came out of the box, right?
Nice.
It wasn't actually just a bolt on here. You have to,
right?
Do a little tweaking, like you were saying before about the parts on the cars. The aftermarket parts. So.
The thing that always impressed me, Doug, when I get down to the UD is that, and for people that don't know what that is, you can go to Motormouth Radio, to the Motormouth Radio decoder, and look for UD, and you'll find it. I'm not going to tell you what it is. You find it for yourself.
Yeah, come visit the website.
Yeah. You guys take in a wide variety of different cars. All sorts of different stuff finds their way to you. How does that happen? Like, what's the selection process?
I mean, how do we get them? Or,
yeah.
Or what do we choose to work on?
Well,
which way are you looking?
It's kind of one and the same, right? I mean, you don't just take everybody who rumbles by the door.
Well, yeah, pretty much, people or word of mouth. And unfortunately, sometimes they're all my cars. So
very good.
Oh, that's true. That's kind of how it started, right? It was like the home for some of our wayward cars,
Yeah, and any technical stuff, then we got to call Joe in.
Well, yeah, that's if it's got those funny connectors and makes beeps and scan stuff. You guys are you're very well solid on the old school stuff. We know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we try and keep this stuff alive, like everybody was talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
The horsepower cars and they were saying earlier about the Chrysler, the only one holding the torch. But I got to agree with you with the Chevy and the Ford also.
Sure.
Yeah, they're all out there doing different things. I guess somebody bought a little bit more advertising than others that people start to think that way.
Yeah. Well, that Hellcat really does step to that muscles its way to the front of the pack, pretty much.
It's got to be all about commercials.
Well, yeah.
Go.
But then again, the Z06, I mean, that's no slouch. Let's face it, they're all, they're all hot. Hey, it's all stuff I'm not going to own. So what's the difference?
Yeah, let's face it.
You got that. My vote right there.
Yeah, I.